Stop for a second and think about this. Every insult, every jab, every attempt to push your buttons. What if none of it landed? What if the people trying to provoke you left frustrated, powerless, and completely outsmarted, without you ever raising a finger? Most people fight back and lose more than they gain. The truly powerful, they don't play by the rules others set. They fool, they redirect, they dominate silently. Today, I'm going to show you how to turn every attempt to hurt you into your secret advantage without ever fighting, without ever losing your calm, and without ever letting them see what you're really capable of. Silence is a weapon, and it is one of the most powerful tools you can wield in a world that constantly tries to provoke you, challenge you, and test your limits. People often underestimate silence because they confuse it with weakness or passivity, but nothing could be further from the truth. When you speak impulsively, when you react to every insult or every slight, you give away power. You allow others to dictate the emotional tempo of your life, and in doing so, you become a participant in a battle that you didn't even need to fight. Silence, on the other hand, is intentional. Silence is strategic. Silence is control. When you master silence, you no longer react to the world around you, you observe it. You see the motivations, the weaknesses, the insecurities that drive people to lash out. You hear the truth behind the words they choose, the fears they hide behind aggression, and the emptiness that fuels their need to provoke. By remaining silent, you force them to reveal themselves. Every insult becomes a window into their character. Every attempt to provoke a reaction becomes a mirror, reflecting their own deficiencies, and every argument they try to start becomes a stage on which their weakness is laid bare. Silence is the ultimate test of patience, and patience is the bedrock of power. The moment you allow yourself to speak in anger, to respond in haste, you relinquish the calm, measured authority that silence affords you. When you stay quiet, you maintain a position of strength that cannot be measured by volume or aggression, but by restraint, observation, and clarity. There is an art to silence, and it is deceptively simple in theory, but profoundly difficult in practice. It requires self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and a deep understanding of human nature. You must recognize the triggers that tempt you to react, the subtle provocations designed to elicit an emotional response, and the patterns of behavior that indicate someone is seeking to manipulate you. Once you recognize these patterns, silence becomes your shield and your sword. It protects you from unnecessary conflict and positions you as someone who cannot be easily swayed or intimidated. In the presence of someone trying to provoke you, silence speaks volumes. It communicates confidence, control, and an inner strength that words cannot convey. People who are used to controlling others through argument and confrontation suddenly find themselves disarmed, confused, and frustrated because their usual tactics no longer work. Silence forces them to rethink their approach, to confront the futility of trying to break someone who refuses to be broken. It is not just about withholding words, it is about creating space. Space to observe, space to think, space to understand the full context of a situation before responding. Most people react immediately, driven by emotion, habit, or ego. They do not pause to consider the consequences of their words or actions. They do not pause to see the bigger picture. Silence gives you that pause. It allows you to assess the landscape, weigh your options, and choose the course of action that best serves your long-term interests rather than the short-term satisfaction of retaliation. When you remain silent in the face of provocation, you also create an aura of unpredictability. People who expect a reaction from you and receive none are forced into uncertainty. They do not know what you are thinking, what your intentions are, or how you will respond next. This uncertainty is a powerful form of control because it shifts the balance of power in your favor. They are compelled to reveal more, to overextend themselves, and to make mistakes that you can then observe and learn from. Silence also serves as a mirror. When someone tries to provoke you and you do not react, they begin to confront themselves. They are forced to deal with their own frustration, their own impulses, and their own insecurities without the distraction of a reactive opponent. In a sense, silence becomes a tool of revelation, not just for you, but for them. They expose their true intentions, their true fears, and their true weaknesses without realizing it. Mastering silence requires discipline. It is easy to remain silent when provocation is mild or when the stakes are low. The true test comes when the insult is personal, when the challenge is direct, and when the temptation to respond is overwhelming. It is in these moments that silence proves its worth. It is in these moments that you demonstrate that your strength does not lie in your ability to fight back, but in your ability to remain unshaken, composed, and aware. People will often mistake your silence for ignorance or indifference, and this is precisely the advantage you gain. While they operate under the assumption that you are powerless or unaware, you are, in fact, gathering information, assessing motives, and planning your next move with precision and clarity. Silence allows you to act deliberately rather than react impulsively. It allows you to choose your battles carefully and to invest your energy where it will have the greatest impact. In a world where most people speak without thinking and react without strategy, silence is a radical act. It sets you apart. It elevates you above the petty conflicts, the unnecessary arguments, and the trivial disputes that consume so much of other people's lives. By choosing silence, you conserve your energy, protect your peace of mind, and maintain your focus on what truly matters. Silence is also a form of psychological leverage. When someone expects a reaction and does not receive one, it unsettles them. They begin to question their own judgment, their own tactics, and their own effectiveness. They become the ones chasing clarity, validation, or acknowledgement from you, flipping the dynamic entirely. They are no longer the ones in control. They are the ones trying to provoke, persuade, or manipulate while you remain centered, composed, and in command of your own mind and emotions. Over time, the habit of using silence as a weapon transforms you. It trains you to be patient, strategic, and disciplined. It teaches you to observe rather than react, to understand rather than judge, and to respond with intention rather than impulse. Your relationships, your professional life, and your personal interactions all benefit from this mastery. People begin to respect you not just for what you do, but for the calm, deliberate presence you bring into every situation. The power of silence is subtle, but it is undeniable. It does not rely on volume, aggression, or intimidation. It relies on restraint, observation, and clarity. It is a quiet force that can dismantle arrogance, reveal truth, and expose weakness without a single word being uttered. Those who fail to understand this often find themselves embroiled in conflicts they never needed, reacting to provocations they never controlled, and wasting energy on battles that were never theirs to fight. But you, by embracing the power of silence, rise above the fray. You are not a participant in their chaos. You are the calm eye in the storm. You allow the storm to rage around you while you maintain your focus, your composure, and your clarity. Every provocation becomes an opportunity to observe, every insult becomes an insight, and every attempt to draw you into conflict becomes a test that you pass simply by not reacting. Silence is not passive. It is active mastery. It is the art of controlling situations, people, and outcomes without ever showing your hand. It is the difference between being led by circumstance and leading with intention. Those who speak without thought are enslaved by their own impulses. Those who remain silent, even under pressure, are free to observe, free to understand, free to act with precision, and free to turn every attempt to undermine them into an advantage. In mastering silence, you master yourself. You control your reactions, your emotions, and your energy. You preserve your mental and emotional resources, for the battles that truly matter, and you leave behind the trivial conflicts that drain others. The world is full of people trying to provoke, distract, and manipulate. They will test your patience, challenge your authority, and attempt to rattle your composure. But when you wield silence as a weapon, you transform these tests into tools. You see through their intentions, understand their motives, and use their own energy against them. Silence becomes not just a defense, but a form of offense, an invisible force that disarms, confounds, and outmaneuvers those who seek to provoke you. It is the ultimate power, the power to remain unshaken, unreactive, and undeniably in control. And as you continue to practice this discipline, as you embrace the strength that comes from restraint and observation, you will find that people who once sought to manipulate or provoke you now approach you with caution, respect, and a recognition that your power lies not in your words, but in your quiet mastery of self, in the way you navigate the world with composure, intelligence, and unshakable resolve. Appearing weaker than you are is not a sign of cowardice. It is a sign of strategy, intelligence, and self-control. In a world where people constantly compete for attention, dominance, and influence, those who rush to assert themselves often fall into traps they do not even see coming. They expose themselves, show their cards too early, and give away the advantage. By choosing to appear weaker, to seem harmless, or to act unassuming, you create a space where others underestimate you. And it is in this space, this carefully crafted misperception, that true control is exercised. The power of appearing weaker lies in psychology. Humans are wired to respond to perceived threats. When someone seems aggressive, powerful, or dominant, people respond defensively, cautiously, or strategically. But when someone seems harmless, unassuming, or even vulnerable, others tend to lower their guard. They speak freely. They act confidently, and they reveal more than they intend. This is the opening that you, the one who knows the game, can exploit. By consciously projecting a harmless image, you manipulate the expectations of those around you. You allow them to assume they have the upper hand, and in doing so, you observe, analyze, and ultimately guide their actions without confrontation. It is a form of psychological chess, where each move is deliberate and every reaction is anticipated. Appearing weaker does not mean being passive. It does not mean being submissive. It means controlling the narrative in a way that others cannot see. It means choosing when to reveal your true strength and when to stay hidden, invisible until the moment that gives you the maximum advantage. There is a saying that the calmest person in the room is the one who is really in control. When you appear harmless, people rarely see the depth of your observation, the precision of your thinking, or the strength of your resolve. You give them the illusion of superiority while quietly positioning yourself to act decisively when the time is right. This approach requires patience. It requires restraint. It requires an awareness of the subtle dynamics in every interaction. You must know not only your own strengths, but also the weaknesses and tendencies of others. You must understand who is likely to overreach, who is likely to reveal too much, and who is likely to underestimate you. By presenting yourself as weaker, you create opportunities for others to expose themselves, to overcommit, and to make mistakes. These mistakes become the foundation of your control. The key is to maintain the balance between appearing harmless and retaining your internal sense of power. Outwardly, you may smile, nod, or remain silent while others dominate the conversation. Inwardly, however, you are fully aware of the dynamics at play, fully aware of their intentions, and fully aware of the advantage you hold. This duality, external humility combined with internal mastery, is the hallmark of effective strategy. There are countless examples of leaders, negotiators, and tacticians throughout history who mastered this principle. They allowed others to believe they were weak, distracted, or compliant, only to strike decisively at the precise moment that guaranteed victory. By doing so, they conserved energy, avoided unnecessary confrontation, and secured outcomes with minimal risk. On a personal level, appearing weaker can protect you from unnecessary conflict. Many people are quick to challenge or provoke those who seem strong or assertive. By lowering the perceived threat you pose, you reduce the likelihood of confrontation, hostility, or sabotage. People are far less likely to attack someone they believe they can control, someone they believe will not resist. But here is the subtle genius. While they believe they control you, you are quietly shaping the situation, steering it toward outcomes that benefit you. The illusion of weakness also encourages people to overreach. They reveal their intentions, make assumptions, and sometimes even make decisions that work in your favor without realizing it. In these moments, your power is hidden in plain sight. It is not flashy or overt, but it is absolute. You are the one setting the pace, observing the errors of others, and deciding when and how to intervene. This strategy requires emotional intelligence. You must manage your own impulses, resist the urge to assert dominance prematurely, and maintain composure in the face of provocation. Appearing harmless does not mean you ignore threats or allow yourself to be undermined. It means that you prioritize timing, strategy, and subtle influence over immediate reaction. You are always 2 steps ahead, calculating the consequences of every action and inaction. Control in this context is not about brute force, it is about influence. By appearing weaker, you influence how others perceive you, how they behave around you, and ultimately, how the situation unfolds. You guide the narrative without ever raising your voice or displaying overt power. You shape outcomes subtly, quietly, and deliberately. It is a mastery of restraint, patience, and observation. Over time, this approach creates a reputation that is difficult to challenge. People may underestimate you initially, but they begin to recognize that your influence is far greater than your outward appearance suggests. They see the results of your strategic patience, the outcomes of your subtle guidance, and the effectiveness of your restraint. And by the time they realize the depth of your power, the opportunity to oppose or undermine you has already passed. This principle can be applied in nearly every area of life: professional, personal, and social. In negotiations, appearing weaker allows you to gain concessions as others assume they are in control. In relationships, appearing unassuming enables you to observe motives and intentions without escalating conflict. In social dynamics, appearing harmless can prevent unnecessary challenges and provide insight into others' character. The most important aspect of this strategy is authenticity. While you are deliberately managing perceptions, you must never lose sight of your true strengths, values, and goals. The outward appearance of weakness is a tool, not a mask that consumes your identity. You remain fully aware of your abilities, fully in control of your decisions, and fully prepared to act decisively when the situation demands it. Appearing weaker also fosters humility and empathy. By intentionally reducing the perception of threat, you cultivate patience, understanding, and perspective. You recognize that power is not always demonstrated through aggression or dominance, but through influence, timing, and precision. The ones who rush to assert themselves may win the battle in the moment, but those who master the art of appearing weaker ultimately win the war. It is an approach that turns assumptions against others, leverages perception as a tool, and transforms potential vulnerability into a strategic advantage. In essence, appearing weaker is a paradoxical form of power. It is strength concealed in humility, control hidden behind passivity, and mastery cloaked in simplicity. By understanding this principle, you gain the ability to shape outcomes, guide interactions, and maintain authority without overt confrontation. The world is full of people who judge based on appearances, react impulsively, and overestimate their own influence. By choosing to appear weaker, you exploit this tendency, turning their misjudgments into opportunities for observation, strategy, and ultimately control. This approach requires patience, awareness, and strategic thinking. It demands that you understand human behavior, anticipate responses, and act deliberately. But when mastered, it provides a level of control and influence that is far more effective and sustainable than force, aggression, or impulsive assertion. By appearing harmless, you create space to maneuver. You guide, observe, and act with precision. You conserve energy while others expend theirs. You reveal strength only when it achieves maximum effect. In doing so, you redefine what it means to be powerful, demonstrating that true control is not measured by outward dominance, but by subtle influence, strategic patience, and the ability to shape outcomes while remaining underestimated. Misdirection is one of the most powerful tools in the art of influence, strategy, and self-preservation. It is the ability to control a situation without directly confronting it, to guide the actions of others without revealing your own intentions, and to create openings where none seem to exist. Many people believe that power is demonstrated through force, argument, or aggression, but the truth is that the most effective power is invisible. It is subtle, intelligent, and strategic. Misdirection allows you to operate in this realm, turning the energy and focus of others into a tool you can use, all while avoiding unnecessary conflict. At its core, misdirection is about perception. Human beings are naturally guided by assumptions, expectations, and patterns. People tend to interpret events and behaviors through the lens of their own biases, desires, and fears. By understanding this, you gain the ability to shape those perceptions, to influence how people see you, and to steer their actions without ever confronting them directly. To use misdirection effectively, you must first understand the intentions and expectations of the people around you. What are they seeking? What are they trying to provoke? What do they believe you are capable of? And how do they expect you to respond? Once you have clarity on this, you can begin to craft subtle actions, signals, and behaviors that guide them toward conclusions or actions that serve your interests, all while maintaining the appearance of innocence or harmlessness. One common example of misdirection is in conversation. When someone attempts to provoke you, challenge you, or manipulate you, the immediate reaction for most people is to respond directly. They argue, they defend, they assert themselves. This is predictable, and it plays into the hands of those seeking to control or destabilize them. Misdirection, by contrast, involves responding in a way that is unexpected, not by aggression, but by redirection. You acknowledge the person's statements without validating the provocation. You ask questions that shift their focus, or you present observations that cause them to reconsider their assumptions. In doing so, you confuse their expectations and disrupt the pattern of provocation. This is not deception in a malicious sense. It is strategic navigation. It is the ability to create an environment where the other person's energy is used against them without their realizing it. Another dimension of misdirection is in behavior and demeanor. Your actions, tone, and body language can signal intentions that are different from your actual strategy. For instance, by appearing indifferent, casual, or even distracted, you can cause others to underestimate your awareness, your preparation, or your capabilities. This perceived vulnerability invites overconfidence, miscalculations, and opportunities for you to act when the timing is most advantageous. Timing is critical. Misdirection is most effective when it is deliberate and calculated. Random or inconsistent attempts at misdirection are easily detected and can backfire. You must understand the flow of the interaction, the psychological state of the other person, and the overall context before introducing subtle shifts in perception. The goal is not to create confusion for its own sake, but to manipulate the situation in such a way that it aligns with your objectives while leaving the other person unaware that they are being guided. Misdirection also leverages attention. Human focus is limited, and people tend to respond to what is immediately in front of them. By controlling where their attention is directed, you can influence their perception of the situation. This could be as simple as highlighting a minor detail while concealing the major one, or as sophisticated as subtly reframing the narrative so that the other person's energy is expended on issues that do not affect your true intentions. In professional settings, misdirection can manifest in negotiation, leadership, or conflict resolution. By guiding conversations, questions, and concerns in a way that highlights your priorities while diverting attention from potential weaknesses, you create an environment in which outcomes favor you without overt confrontation. The key is subtlety. Your influence must be invisible. In personal interactions, misdirection serves to protect your emotional energy. People often attempt to manipulate others through guilt, provocation, or psychological pressure. Responding directly may escalate tension or create unnecessary conflict. By using misdirection, you redirect their focus, diffuse their attempts at control, and preserve your calm and composure. In this way, misdirection is both a defensive and offensive tool. There is a strategic principle here that is worth understanding deeply. When people feel they are in control, they often make mistakes. They overcommit, overextend, and reveal more than they intend. By creating the illusion that you are reactive, passive, or distracted, you set up conditions where their own assumptions and expectations work against them. Misdirection allows you to be in control while remaining undetected, turning the apparent advantage of others into a disadvantage. This principle requires acute observation. You must read subtle cues, body language, tone, and context to anticipate reactions and craft effective diversions. A slight gesture, a carefully chosen word, or an intentional pause can all serve as instruments of misdirection when used with precision. The effectiveness of misdirection also depends on consistency. While you may shift perception strategically, your actions must maintain an internal logic that aligns with your character and reputation. Inconsistencies that are too obvious will be detected, undermining trust and exposing your strategy. Therefore, misdirection is a disciplined practice, blending subtlety, psychology, and timing. It is about shaping the battlefield before entering it. It is about guiding the chess pieces without the opponent realizing the plan. In situations where direct confrontation is risky, misdirection is often superior to aggression. Fighting back in anger or trying to assert dominance can escalate conflicts, alienate allies, and reduce your leverage. Misdirection, however, allows you to maintain influence, minimize risk, and secure favorable outcomes without appearing combative. Over time, the consistent use of misdirection cultivates a reputation that is both enigmatic and authoritative. People may not understand the full scope of your intentions, but they recognize that you operate with precision, insight, and an almost invisible influence. This enhances your credibility, encourages respect, and positions you as someone whose presence is impactful even without overt action. Misdirection is not manipulation in a self-serving or harmful sense. It is strategic intelligence applied in social and professional contexts. It allows you to navigate challenges with grace, redirect potentially harmful energy, and maintain control over outcomes without unnecessary confrontation. Ultimately, misdirection is a form of mastery. It transforms conflict into opportunity, provocation into observation, and perception into influence. Those who understand and practice it learn to operate above the surface chaos of the world, quietly guiding events, shaping behavior, and achieving results with a precision that others cannot easily detect. It is the skill of the composed, the patient, and the strategic. By using misdirection, you turn the intentions of others into tools for your own success, avoid unnecessary confrontations, and maintain a level of control that is both subtle and absolute. It is an art that, once mastered, allows you to navigate the complexities of human interaction with an intelligence and calm that leave others both confused and impressed, never fully realizing that their own actions have been guided, their energy redirected, and their intentions outmaneuvered without a single direct confrontation. Turning someone's aggression into your advantage is one of the most sophisticated and effective strategies for personal and professional mastery. It is the art of using the energy, hostility, or provocation directed at you in a way that benefits your position, strengthens your control, and preserves your peace of mind. Most people respond to aggression with aggression, escalating conflict, draining their energy, and exposing themselves to unnecessary risks. The truly powerful, however, recognize that aggression, when understood and managed correctly, is not an obstacle, it is a tool. The first step in turning aggression into your advantage is awareness. You must perceive the intent, the emotion, and the underlying motivation behind someone's aggressive behavior. Aggression rarely exists in a vacuum. It is often fueled by insecurity, fear, jealousy, or the desire to manipulate or control. By understanding the root cause of the aggression, you gain insight into the person's weaknesses and patterns of behavior. This awareness allows you to respond strategically rather than react impulsively. When someone attacks verbally, emotionally, or even physically, the instinct for most is to defend, retaliate, or assert dominance. But by resisting this instinct, you conserve energy, maintain control, and position yourself to capitalize on their own momentum. Imagine their aggression as a river flowing toward you. You do not need to swim against it. Instead, you learn to redirect it, channel it, and use its current to carry you forward. Silence, calm composure, and measured observation are key elements in this process. When someone directs aggression at you, your first task is to remain unshaken. Anger, fear, or defensiveness only feed the aggressor, giving them the satisfaction of seeing you react. By staying calm, you deny them the control they seek. Their aggression then becomes a tool for you to analyze their intentions, predict their next move, and identify opportunities for strategic advantage. Another critical aspect of this strategy is reframing. Aggression is often designed to provoke a reaction or to create a sense of chaos. By reframing the situation in your mind, you take power away from the aggressor. You interpret their actions not as attacks, but as indicators of their weaknesses, limitations, or lack of self-control. You see their frustration as a guide rather than a threat. In doing so, you transform a negative force into a source of valuable information. Timing and patience are essential. You do not need to act immediately to gain advantage from someone's aggression. Often, the mere act of restraint, choosing not to engage directly, forces the aggressor to escalate, overextend, or reveal more than they intended. Every outburst, insult, or provocation becomes an opportunity to observe and understand the aggressor's psychology. In social, professional, and personal contexts, aggression can also be redirected subtly. By guiding the aggressor's energy toward actions or decisions that serve your long-term objectives, you convert hostility into utility. For example, someone who criticizes or challenges you publicly may be trying to undermine your authority. Instead of responding defensively, you might allow their comments to expose their own ignorance, insecurity, or poor judgment, turning the spotlight back on them while remaining composed and dignified. Emotional detachment is critical in this process. Aggression is most effective against those who are reactive, emotionally invested, or dependent on the approval of others. By cultivating a mindset that separates your sense of self-worth from the behavior of others, you make yourself impervious to the impact of aggression. This detachment allows you to use the aggressor's energy strategically rather than being consumed by it. In many ways, turning aggression into advantage is a demonstration of leverage. You use the strength, intensity, and momentum of someone else's energy without expending your own. It is a form of efficiency that maximizes results while minimizing effort. The more intense the aggression, the greater the potential for insight and opportunity if you remain calm, patient, and observant. Subtlety is also key. The advantage gained from another's aggression is most powerful when it is invisible. If the aggressor recognizes that their hostility is being used against them, they may change tactics, retreat, or escalate further in unpredictable ways. Therefore, your strategy must be quiet, controlled, and deliberate, influencing outcomes without overt action or confrontation. There is also an element of psychological mastery in this approach. By demonstrating calm and composure in the face of aggression, you assert control over the emotional dynamics of the interaction. People are often unprepared to deal with someone who does not react as expected. They may become frustrated, question their approach, or even reveal vulnerabilities they intended to conceal. This creates an opening for you to guide the interaction in a way that serves your objectives. Turning aggression into advantage requires foresight. You must anticipate potential conflicts, understand the personalities involved, and plan how to channel hostile energy in ways that strengthen your position. Impulsiveness undermines this strategy, while strategic thinking enhances it. In practical terms, this can manifest in negotiations, leadership, personal relationships, and even casual interactions. For instance, a colleague who attempts to dominate a meeting may inadvertently expose their lack of preparation or understanding. By remaining calm and allowing them to drive the narrative, you can capitalize on their missteps to demonstrate competence, insight, and control without confrontation. Similarly, in personal relationships, aggression from others can serve as a mirror, revealing their insecurities, patterns of manipulation, or emotional triggers. By observing rather than reacting, you gain clarity about their character and can make decisions that protect your interests and well-being. The process also builds resilience. The more you practice converting aggression into advantage, the less reactive you become, the stronger your composure, and the more adept you are at leveraging every situation to your benefit. Aggression, when handled strategically, stops being a threat and becomes a source of empowerment. This approach does not require manipulation, deceit, or cruelty. It requires intelligence, patience, and self-mastery. It requires the ability to see beyond immediate provocation and focus on long-term outcomes. By doing so, you maintain integrity while exercising power effectively. Another benefit of this strategy is its compounding effect. Over time, people recognize that their aggression has no impact on you, and those who attempt to provoke you learn that their energy will either be wasted or turned against them. This creates a protective buffer, reducing the likelihood of future attacks and establishing a reputation for unshakable composure and strategic intelligence. Finally, the essence of turning aggression into your advantage lies in perception and control. You cannot control the behavior of others, but you can control how you respond. By converting hostility into opportunity, you transform potential conflict into a tool for growth, insight, and influence. The aggressor's energy, which is often wasted in attempts to destabilize you, becomes the engine that drives your awareness, strategy, and advantage. In essence, the ability to turn aggression into your advantage without lifting a finger is a demonstration of mastery. It is the ability to remain unshaken, use every action of others as a resource, and influence outcomes through restraint, observation, and strategic intelligence. The world is full of people who react impulsively to aggression, expending their energy in ways that benefit no one. By contrast, those who have learned to convert aggression into advantage operate above the fray, channeling hostile energy to illuminate weaknesses, guide behavior, and strengthen their own position, while others exhaust themselves in futile attempts to provoke a reaction